reasons I wanted to come back was to work with this amazing cast and this kind of creative family that we had created. And the other reason was to do something about the ocean and its beauty. To me, the ocean exists in my mind in this kind of dream world state. I have often have dreams about being underwater, being with amazing fish and biomass, and I just wanted to convey that artistically. I don't think it should be a big surprise, but thank you for giving me a chance to kind of spell it out. The way I look at it is if you're making a Western, you ask the actors at the audition if they can ride a horse. They always say yes. It's the strangest thing, isn't it? Right, so, I didn't bother to ask everybody if they were accomplished scuba divers or free divers. I assumed that we could train anyone, and that included the kids, in what they needed to do and that we could do it safely. Because I had done that before on The Abyss with a cast, most of whom were not, in fact all of whom were not divers. So I knew these were skills that, because they're mental skills, they're not physical athletic skills. When you learn to breath hold and hold your breath for minutes at a time underwater, that's more of a mental skill. Actors have strong minds and they embrace preparation for the role. So I knew that this was something that everybody would lean into and want to learn. Actors always want to learn something as part of the development of their character, right? And some had more underwater scenes than others. In terms of the technological requirements, it was a whole new frontier. This was our big challenge on the film. Not only developing the physical means to capture underwater and to shoot underwater in 3D, that's two separate problems, but also the rendering of the water during the CG phase, which is done later after the actors are done, was also a big challenge. But we knew we were making a movie called The Way of Water. We got to figure this stuff out, right? You guys had to do that. He taught them how to hold their breath for minutes at a time. And Sigourney was doing like 6 minutes underwater. But they left out the most important thing, which is don't do this. Right? Do this. So everybody then needed to learn how to hold their breath in the back of their throat, not up front at their lips. And that was at the last second. I said, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. And everybody was like, we don't know how to do that. I think we've got to make a distinction here. You talk about a high frame rate film. We're not a high frame rate film. The whole film is not done at 40 frames per second because we don't consider high frame rate to be a format like 70 millimeter or a CinemaScope or any other format. We consider it to be an authoring tool that can be used or not used depending on whether we have issues that show up. So we made a decision, for example, that we would use it when the camera pans quickly or when somebody moves rapidly left to right across the frame, something like that, because it makes the 3D better. I don't think it adds value to a 2D film. Or our release of the film in 2D, I don't think it's adding value. I think it adds value in the experience of the 3D, but it has to be used carefully, because sometimes it can make a scene feel a little bit like video or like it's been smoothed. And so we try to use it as sparingly as possible. Now, we did make a decision to use it in all of the underwater scenes because we felt from our testing that it added value to the experience. And so, we use it sparingly. We use it when it adds value to the film. We don't just do the whole film in it as a format. Of course, what's our goal here? Our goal is to make it the best possible experience in a cinema that it can be. So, the big screen alone adds so much value. And we mix in Atmos sound, and we shoot in 6K raw files, native stereo, which to me is a big deal. Because a lot of people just do 3D by adding it later. Post-production is not the same thing. I like to author in 3D as a director. It's part of my art form, part of how we work. So high dynamic range, high frame rate, stereoscopic imaging, all of these things, the the quality of the visual effects work that we do with the wet effects company down in New Zealand to make the emotions of the actors come through so clearly. To me, if you want to talk about what's important technically to this film, everything else is down here. And the quality of the emotional creation of these characters, I mean the creation is done by the actors, but the preservation of it through the system into these non-human characters, which couldn't be done with makeup. It's what gives the film its grounding, its emotional power. And I would say that's the most important technological thing that we've managed to pull off here. In perspective, it's shorter than Titanic, and that worked out okay, right? So we haven't had, from people that have actually seen the film, we haven't had any complaints about the length yet. To me, more of a good thing is more.
We also think of it as 2 hours and 72 minutes.
Tell 2 hours, 72 minutes.
Yeah, I guess